it's Wednesday and we're back with another video. What are we doing today?
On today's topic, we'll be discussing if white people can actually be called Africans. Let's check out this clip first, and then you tell me what you think about it.
He tried to discredit the Three Kings and say that he's the real true African champion. And I was just like, it's a weird mindset, bro. Like, he came in the UFC, I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the fuck's this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, he's another African in the UFC. But then him discrediting me, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, that ticked me off a little bit. So that's what started this. But again, I'll finish it.
And as far as discrediting, never discredited anybody. Stating facts. Where do I reside? What's my postal code? Where do I train? Where do I live? Where was I born? In South Africa. Still there, still training. And I won this belt from South Africa. I didn't travel anywhere else. That was the only thing that I stated. So never discredited anybody. But quite frankly, I don't really care about how it rubbed him off the wrong way. I don't care.
I don't really give a fuck where he's from, but I'll show him who he is.
Yeah, whatever that means.
So for context, Dricus is South African UFC champion.
Yeah.
When he won the championship, he said he's the real true African champion.
Yeah.
There were 3 other African champions before him.
And what they heard is he's the real true African.
Yes. So Dricus' point is that he grew up in South Africa, born and raised, and he trained in South Africa. Yeah. While the others, even though they're Africans,
they trained in other places. Yeah.
So he says he's the true African because of that.
So this is very tricky, right? We're gonna open it with that it's very tricky. Because apart from like being African being just like something that highlights where you're coming from, it also goes to the whole identity. I get that, right? And that's why a lot of people will feel sensitive. But I'm on the side where I will argue, to say that he's African, because he's the typical like, born South African, So yes, he may be a European descendant, right? But they have become part of South Africa. Like, they literally have become part of South Africa. And being a South African, is being an African.
So for me, this is a weird one.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic because it's...
Yes, it is a very interesting...
It gets complex and it gets tricky, but I always try to like rationalize these things. So the first thing you must ask yourself, right, is what is an African? I did some research, I Googled it.
Yeah.
I Googled it, I got a straightforward answer. An African is a native of Africa, a descendant of Africa, a person from Africa, and a person residing in Africa. So, by definition,
he is African.
White South Africans are Africans.
Yeah.
By definition.
By definition.
Yes.
So, I agree with that.
A lot of people just use that answer, and it's as simple as that.
Yes.
By definition, they're African because they're South African.
But it's more complex than that.
But there's the tricky thing of, so the reason why Black people specifically are gatekeeping being African, right, is because of race.
Yeah.
Racism is the whole reason why Black people are not accepting white people as African. So I can explain this further.
Yes.
So white people are very quick to remind Black people that we are not the same.
Yes.
Very quick. When they need to do that, they remind Black people very quick.
And as an insult, they've thrown being African as an insult and all of that.
So, in pretty much all over the world, white people are quick to remind Black people that we are not the same.
We're not the same.
Right? In Europe, for instance, you will never hear a Black person say he's more European than a white person is. You will never hear that.
Because it's just not. It's just...
Because of racism.
And that's why you get conflicted with supporting England. It just reminds you of being a kid in England. It reminds you all them times when you're out, everyone, and then someone says something. So you're Black, or someone's parents said something. Like, usually what fucks you up is adults say something to you as a 4-year-old, as a 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And then it reminds you of that when you're trying to get closer to the identity of being English and then that happens. Like, oh yeah, there's this gap. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, because, like you said, there's feelings, like people are pissed off and this is that and the other, but you instantly go there. So why'd you go there? That means it's just there waiting. It was just that kind of, it was a jolt of a reminder of like, oh yeah, this country. It's why I was never comfortable in a pub like that.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? As a kid or when I'm young, it's like why I can't go certain places. Like, it was that. What happened with you lot, that's what it was.
You still feel that way after even winning an Oscar? You don't feel that's put you in rare air, a different space? You still have that same?
Bro. Nah, bro. Like, if I believed in that, that's when I'm in trouble, I feel. Because it's like, then you think that it's disappeared. You believe what this is going to exchange. Like, it's nothing to do with what we've achieved.
Right.
It's like, it's nothing to do with, like, the reason why they're doing it is nothing to do, because we've underachieved. It's like, the reason why I do it, because they've got something wrong with them.
Like, even in America, with African Americans, they put it in there that you're African. Like, that,
not just an American.
That will never leave your identity. Your identity is African. Even if you come, your generations, you know, have been in America. And, you know, your ancestors have been here. For longer, further than you can even remember, you know? But still, you're not American. You're not European.
So because of that, because white people are always quick to remind black people that we are not the same.
Yeah.
Now, when white people are trying to claim that we are actually the same, black people are not taking that very well. Because throughout history, anywhere and everywhere in the world, you guys have always reminded us that we are not the same. For example, even here in South Africa.
Yes.
30 years ago, there was a Europeans only section, and then there was a non-Europeans only section.
Yes.
They were always constantly reminding us that we are not the same.
Yeah.
They call themselves Europeans, like literally 30 years ago. Now they're screaming that they're Africans because it's suiting them now.
Yes.
It's suiting them to be African.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I can't argue that they are taking on the African identity because it is convenient.
So
it does suit them.
What black people are doing is like, okay, because of your racism, because you've always been reminding us that we are not the same.
Yeah.
The black person is taking the African identity.
Yes.
You cannot be black.
Yes.
So you cannot be African.
But like, yes, I just don't see how he would say he's more African.
He's saying that because these guys don't train in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Cameroon. They train elsewhere. That's the thing. So he's saying that because I'm training in South Africa, and that means I won my championship in South Africa.
Yeah.
That means I'm more African than you are. That's what he's saying.
That's strange.
That is silly. So as a black person, you take that as disrespect, because it's like, how can a white person come here and tell me that he's more African than I am?
Yeah.
That's where all this.
So do you think that? I mean, I don't think any.
So the whole point is, it's not even about that. Okay, I trained elsewhere or I grew up elsewhere, I am black. You can never be more African than I am. That's the whole chat.
Yeah.
That,
just like he
that black people
argue, no matter what test it could be, he could never be more European than him.
Yes.
I agree with that.
A black person who grew up in England, who was born and raised in England, will never tell Dricus that he's more European than he is. Because he knows instinctively that he's not.
Yeah.
Because they always get reminded every time that whenever something happens, you are black at the end of the day.
Yes. And you're African.
Yes. So with that, black people are taking the African identity and making it theirs, saying that no, even though you stay here, even though you're born here, even though you're raised here and stuff like that, you can never.
I'm just like a little bit
black.
like confused of why you said that, and especially like that's very silly. But like, I also understand like also why you'd say I'm also African, you know, like why you'd be like I'm also African. I get
that's not his chat. His chat is that because I grew up here and I trained here and I won my championship training in South Africa, I am more African than you because you were training elsewhere.
You train in other places, you know.
That's his chat. And that's why this whole thing is crazy.
But it's very tricky for me.
No, it's not. It's straightforward. So by definition, Dricus is African.
So no matter how long, this is the thing with this, like, us not being a little flexible with these things is like, how long are we gonna go on?
A white
like
person
that?
can never be African.
Even though they've basically planted themselves in Africa.
We've also planted ourselves in Europe.
Yes, so wouldn't it be fair that those people who have planted themselves in Europe become European over certain generations?
And the funny thing is,
why?
They're the ones who set these rules. It's not us.
I get that.
Like I'm saying,
I get
because
that.
of racism. If it wasn't for racism,
let's minus racism. Don't you think it makes sense?
That's what I'm saying. If it wasn't for racism, we wouldn't even be having these discussions. Like, if it would be as straightforward as, like, if you're born and raised in Africa, you're an African. It would be as straightforward as that. But because there is racism, black people are trying to differentiate themselves from white people the same way they did to us. So black people are saying that black people, the African identity is the black identity. So it doesn't matter what you do as a white person, you can never be African because you're not black. Yes. The same way I can never be European because I'm not white. The same way they made those rules. Now we just applying them now. So again, depending on whatever definition you want to use, you let us know in the comments whether you think Dricus is actually African or more African than the other African UFC champions. You let us know what you think about it. Yeah,
or do you even agree? Was it coming from a good or a bad place? Like, what do you feel about what he said?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And keep watching. Bye.
We'll check you guys in the next one.